No company wants to have their employees injured on the job. Work should be an exciting, safe, and enjoyable experience for everyone involved. Working safely is an important commitment from every employee, including management, because teamwork and safety dovetail together to create an efficient, productive, and pleasurable work environment for everyone. Reducing and eliminating lost time incident rates is key to what accident prevention is all about. Generally, there are no accidents in the workplace. When an employee cuts their hand or slips, falls, or sustains an injury, these so-called accidents are usually work-related incidents. The difference between an accident and an incident is that an accident cannot be stopped from occurring, whereas an incident can usually be prevented. Almost all accidents in the workplace are preventable. That is why they are really incidents, and the vast majority of these incidents are caused by the employees that create them. For example, not paying attention when using power tools or not watching where you are walking can cause incidents to take place that are really the fault of the employee, not the equipment or work environment. In reality, some of the most common injuries that occur in the workplace are often the easiest injuries to prevent. 1/3 of all incidents in the workplace are due to slips, trips, and falls. Many slips and falls occur on wet or slippery surfaces. Oil, grease, and other fluids, when leaked or spilled, can lead to very serious injuries if they are not cleaned up immediately. Wet and slippery surfaces must always be clearly marked. Obstructions such as hoses, boxes, or pallets, when left on the floor, can easily become tripping hazards. In fact, lack of proper housekeeping is consistently shown in accident report forms as a major cause of slip and fall incidents. Other reasons are the weather, especially in outdoor work environments, and worn-out flooring that has not been replaced. If all employees were to watch where they are walking, walk at an appropriate and safe speed for surface conditions, clean up spills and leaks immediately, and reported such hazards such as worn-out flooring to management, most of these incidents would cease to occur. Another 1/3 of workplace incidents are attributed to material handling. Lifting incorrectly can cause musculoskeletal damage. Some important considerations to prevent back injuries when lifting anything are: never carry awkward or heavy items over a long distance. Never twist and stretch while lifting. Don't stoop down low or reach for items that are high above the head, as this puts the back in a vulnerable position for strains to occur. Strenuous pushing or pulling can damage the back. If an item is too heavy to pick up by yourself, get assistance from a coworker. For really heavy items, use a forklift, pallet jack, cart, or mechanical lifting equipment whenever possible. Allow for adequate rest times during lifting jobs. Don't lift with tired muscles. Follow safe lifting guidelines. Here is an example of a safe lifting technique from the program Manual Material Handling. It demonstrates the correct way to lift a medium-sized box. To lift properly, place your feet as close to the object you are lifting as you can. Bend your knees, not your back. Get a good firm palm grip on the object you are lifting and pull it close to your body. Then stand up, using your leg muscles to do the work. When setting the object down, reverse the same procedure. Other common causes of workplace incidents are traffic-related. These occur not only in warehouse operations, but also wherever people come and go in motorized vehicles. These include collision with a motor vehicle, you or materials falling off vehicles, and overturning vehicles. The ways to reduce these types of incidents are: separate pedestrians and forklifts by physical barriers or distance whenever possible. Don't allow passengers on the forklift or let them ride on the forks. This will prevent people from falling off vehicles. Don't speed. A speeding forklift is an incident waiting to happen. Also, never drive a forklift with the forks raised, as you can damage walls, materials, and injure coworkers. Minimize reversing through one-way traffic whenever possible. Make sure all drivers are properly trained and authorized before they are allowed to operate equipment. It's not only a good idea, it's the law. Many fatalities each year are caused by electric shocks. All employees are at the risk of these incidents, not just electricians. You don't have to work on or near electrical equipment to be at risk of a shock or a burn. Burns are the most common form of electrical injuries. These general guidelines can help you reduce or eliminate these types of incidents. The electrical equipment being used is the proper tool for the job being done. The equipment is well maintained and is in proper working order. This means that the cord is in good shape and the tool is properly grounded according to manufacturer specifications. Personnel using the equipment have been fully trained in its proper use. Safety cutout devices, such as circuit breakers, cutoff switches, and GFCIs, are provided and in working order. Before we wrap up this overview, some other common incident causes are also important to mention. No running is ever allowed in the workplace. Move at a safe speed. Never stand on chairs or furniture to reach high places. Always use a ladder. Don't jump from high places, such as truck beds or loading docks, to prevent foot, ankle, or leg injuries. Never leave file drawers open. They can become tripping hazards or cause the file to tip over. Pay attention when using box cutters. Always cut away from yourself and replace dull or broken blades that can slip and cause loss of control. Wear all personal protective equipment when it is required. This includes eye protection, hearing protection, proper footwear, and respirators. This protective equipment has been provided by your employer for your protection. Always be aware of machine guarding and never remove or tie back guards or safety devices. Follow your company's lockout and tagout procedures. Do not remove locks, tags, or operate any machine or tool that is being worked on by maintenance. Also, be sure to report any broken or damaged equipment immediately to your supervisor. Of course, all incidents and near misses, however minor, must be reported to your supervisor immediately. What happens next? After an incident has occurred, it is the supervisor's responsibility to interview the person involved in the incident and to fill out an accident report form. These reports must be in writing, as the data may be reviewed months or even years after the incident took place. After the initial interview, an accident investigation will take place. This investigation will gather all the facts pertinent to the incident. This includes taking photographs and writing down any eyewitness accounts. This information can then be used to determine the cause of the incident and to make corrections to prevent this type of incident from occurring in the future. As you can see from this program, workplace incidents do not have to occur. If employees follow company procedures, don't take shortcuts, pay attention to what they are doing, so-called accidents would almost cease to exist. Your company wants you to work in a safe, accident-free environment, but it's up to you, the employee, to behave in a safe, reliable manner. The key to accident or incident prevention is really you.
The Hazard Communication Standard is now aligned with the Globally Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling of Chemicals, or GHS. This update to the Hazard Communication Standard will provide a common and coherent approach to classifying chemicals and communicating hazard information on labels and safety data sheets. In order to ensure chemical safety in the workplace, information about the identities and hazards of the chemicals must be available and understandable to workers. OSHA's Hazard Communication Standard, HCS, requires the development and dissemination of such information. Chemical manufacturers and importers are required to evaluate the hazards of the chemicals they produce or import and prepare labels and safety data sheets to convey the hazard information to their own downstream customers. All employers with hazardous chemicals in their workplaces must have labels and safety data sheets for their exposed workers and train them to handle the chemicals appropriately. Hazard classification provides specific criteria for classification of health and physical hazards, as well as classification of mixtures. Labels. Chemical manufacturers and importers will be required to provide a label that includes a harmonized signal word, pictogram, and hazard statement for each hazard class and category. Precautionary statements must also be provided. Safety data sheets. Safety data sheets will now have a specified 16-section format. Certain chemicals, due to their physical properties, exhibit physical hazards, including flammability, reactivity, and other properties. Physical hazard chemicals fall in the following classes: flammable liquids, or solids, combustible liquids, explosives, organic peroxide, oxidizers, pyrophoric materials. These are materials that may ignite spontaneously in air at temperatures above 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Health hazard chemicals are those that may cause acute or chronic health effects after exposure. It can be an obvious effect, such as immediate death from inhaling a deadly chemical. A health hazard may not necessarily cause immediate or obvious harm to you or even make you sick. In fact, you may not see, feel, or smell the danger. An acute health effect usually occurs rapidly following a brief exposure. A chronic health effect is long, continuous, and follows repeated long-term exposure. As an example of what kinds of chemicals cause health hazards, the list includes carcinogens or cancer-causing chemicals. An example could be formaldehyde or benzene. Toxic agents could include lawn or garden insecticides. Irritants may include chemicals such as ammonia or bleach. Corrosives are caustic sodas or battery acid. That's not the entire list, but it provides an idea of different types and kinds of chemicals. Containers of hazardous chemicals must be labeled in English. Generally, where there are non-English speaking personnel, the label should be in that language or languages also. Labels must contain the following information: identity of the hazardous chemical, appropriate hazard warning, name and address of the chemical manufacturer, importer, or other responsible party. You may use signs, placards, symbols, batch tickets, or printed operating procedures in place of labels on individual containers, as long as the meaning is fully understood by the people using the chemicals. There are several systems and standards for labeling chemicals, but there is not a uniformly accepted system to date. Each system and standard has advantages and limitations. The NFPA Diamond is used primarily by emergency response personnel and does not adequately signal occupational hazards. The NFPA system is good for alerting personnel and the degree of hazard of the chemical, and is helpful in drawing attention to storage needs and emergency equipment requirements. HMIS, or Hazardous Material Information System, is one of the most popular systems for labeling containers. It uses standard labels to communicate hazards through the use of colors, numbers, and letters of the alphabet and symbols. The new labeling system under the GHS program will have distinctive labels and pictograms to help you identify the chemical's hazards. If you're experienced, you should know quite a bit about MSDS, or Material Safety Data Sheets. MSDSs are factual information sheets that relate to chemicals. The manufacturer is required to provide the required information, and each employer is required to maintain these MSDS on file. Anyone who uses the chemical may then ask to see the MSDS to determine information that may not be provided on the labels. The employer may have all the MSDS information on an electronic database. The primary requirement is the MSDS must be readily accessible. Much of the MSDS information is used by engineers, safety managers, and others to determine the actual hazard of the chemical and develop policies and procedures for the safe use, handling, storing, and disposing of the chemical. The MSDS also provides information on what type of personal protective equipment is necessary and first aid procedures to take in case of exposure. Even if a chemical is claimed trade secret, the following minimum information is required on the MSDS. The PEL, or permissible exposure limit, and the TLV, or the threshold limit value, or other designated limits must be listed. The major difference between material safety data sheets and the new safety data sheets is the SDS, or safety data sheets, have a 16-section format. The information will be more standardized as well. The new GHS, or Global Harmonizing System, is more standardized in its labeling requirements. and the SDS and its 16-section format will add more information on each chemical. Because this is a transition from MSDS to SDS, you'll continue using the old MSDS, and you may see the new SDS from time to time. Eventually, everything will be smoothly transitioned to the new labels, classifications, and, of course, the safety data sheets. Most of the elements of the Hazard Communication Standard are retained with some updating to the new GHS.